Something I've always liked about the Smash Bros. Series is how different the games become from one another, like just over time. This includes the characters and how they can change so much for the better or for the worse. Or how they can just stay the fucking same for over 20 years. Today, I'm gonna list 5 characters who I think got worse over time. Characters who just fell off in the span of at least 2 or more Smash games. This means Smash 4 or Ultimate characters like Bayonetta or Cloud won't be on this list. But I do have to mention, I used to fucking own Glorious Cloud back in the Smash 4 days. Now he's nothing compared to what he was. I mean, he's still good, but definitely a shadow of his former self. But I digress. I should also add, I'm not like a hyper-competitive Smash player. I know the basics. I mean, I definitely play competitively. No items, flat layout, basic stages. But, I mean, I've never been to any tournaments or anything like that, and I honestly have no clue what's meta. So, honestly, just take what I have to say with a grain of salt. And if you disagree with anything, you can bully me in the comments, because I'm interested. But for now, let me show you the top 5 Smash characters who I think fell off. Now, at number 5, I got Pikachu, and I think that's kind of a controversial take. That's why he's at number 5. Now, my reason is because Pikachu was broken. He was busted as shit in the first 2 Smash games he was in. In Smash 64, he was easily a top 2 character with Kirby. In Smash Melee, he was easily a top tier. I mean, but then Brawl came around, and he was okay. He wasn't bad. Smash 4 came around. Relatively the same. Now, I feel like the worst offender for Pikachu was definitely an Ultimate where he somehow became worse than his inferior counterpart, Pichu. Like, I don't know how they managed to do this, but Pichu is now debatably better than Pikachu, which is crazy because he used to suck ass in Melee. But, I mean, overall, Pikachu is still pretty good. You could even argue he got better since Brawl, but I personally disagree. If anything, I think he got worse, because, I mean, at least in Brawl, he was really good for, like, boss rush and stuff. He hit like a truck still, but now, he's alright. But honestly, I'd always choose Pichu over him, so I don't see much of a point anymore. Now, at number 4, this is where we get into the heat of it already. At number 4, we got the Ice Climbers. It really doesn't take a genius to figure this one out. In Melee, the Ice Climbers were busted because they had an infinite grab chain that was just insane, and combined with Melee's physics, they were broken. Brawl came around, they were relatively the same, but because of Brawl's physics engine, I feel like they weren't as good. They were still really good, and they could infinite chain grab, which is absolutely broken. You could literally get someone to 999% and just one-shot them. So really, you'd think the Ice Climbers were always good until Smash 4 came around, and they just died. Nah, but seriously, in Smash Ultimate, when they came back, they're pretty okay. I mean, they're not bad. They're just not what they used to be. Like, I mean, for obvious reasons, they don't have their chain grab anymore. So they no longer really had what made them so special in the first place. And I feel like that was more than enough of a reason for them to fall off. You could argue for other things, but that's my main reason. Now, at number 3, we got Fox. I feel like anyone knows that Fox was at one point just the best character in Smash Bros. Even in Brawl, he was pretty good. Obviously not as good, but he did still have that Melee DNA in him. But I feel like Smash 4 is when his Melee DNA definitely wore out. I mean, he wasn't a bad character. Far from it. He definitely fell off compared to what he used to be. And in Ultimate, I mean, I guess he really just kind of stayed a bit of the same as in Smash 4, if not slightly worse. So, I mean, that jump from being the best in Melee to just being a high mid-tier in Smash 4 to Ultimate, definitely a fall off. Now, at number 2, we have a really bad offender. Someone I feel like we need to talk about more. I never hear about this, but goddamn, Ike fell off so much from Brawl. I'm not gonna lie, Ike was arguably a top tier in Brawl with his attack power. It was absolutely insane. He was broken. For any other mode besides Smash, he was just the best. I mean, Ike was amazing. His recovery was always bad, but goddamn, his attack power really made up for it. Until Smash 4 and Ultimate came around, and honestly, ever since, it just hasn't been the same. He still hits like a truck, but nowhere near as much as he used to. Now, I would honestly argue he's just mid-tier, and there's Fire Emblem characters better than him, but in Brawl, there was no beating Ike, I swear. Now for the honorable mentions, characters I just didn't feel I needed to include on the list. They didn't fall off enough, really. Starting off with Pit. In Brawl, he definitely was different. I mean, I'd argue he was better. His side B was absolutely cancerous. He had one of the best recoveries in the entire franchise. But now, I wouldn't say he's even worse. If anything, you could argue he's better now. He just plays differently, and that's not a bad thing. So honestly, I don't feel like he fell off enough, or even at all. He was just really different than what he used to be. And next, we got Falco. Although I do think Falco fell off a lot, I didn't want to include him with Fox. That's just repetitive. That's my only reason. Shitty reason, but you know, it is what it is. And then we got Jigglypuff. I mean, Jigglypuff is kind of a weird case. She was like the worst character in the original Smash Bros. Then Melee came around, she was easily a top tier. Then Brawl came around, low tier. Smash 4, low tier. Ultimate, low tier. Jigglypuff was more so like a one-hit wonder character, which I feel like we've had a couple, but not enough to make a whole video on. And then we got Snake, the worst defender here. His down smash used to create like a landmine, and now it doesn't, so I think that's pretty stupid, so he fell off, number 1. And now on to number 1, the character I feel like anyone could have guessed ahead of time. It's obviously Meta Knight. And what can I say? Meta Knight just used to be meta. And then he just fell off. Meta Knight was just a beast in Brawl. I mean, he took what made the Ice Climber special and did it even better. He took what made Pit and Brawl special, did it even better, had the best recovery in the franchise. And his combos were just dirty as shit. I mean, yeah, you had to have some skill to use them, but notice how I only said some, because he was broken. He was seriously insane. In my opinion, I think he's the best character in the Smash Bros. Franchise. Some can argue Fox, but I honestly disagree. I think Meta Knight's infinite recovery makes him far better. But then Smash 4 came around. He got a lot of nerfs throughout that game, I remember. But I'd honestly say he wasn't bad. He was definitely pretty good. And then Ultimate came around and somehow made him even worse. I mean, his neutral special doesn't even do multi-damage anymore. It just kind of knocks back the character. He went from hero to zero so fast. I mean, I don't even know what to say. But honestly, him falling off was probably the best thing that could have ever happened. We do not need another Brawl Meta Knight situation in Smash, or any game for that matter, ever again. But yeah, these were just 5 characters I felt fell off over time. Like, whatever made them special is just not there anymore. These characters aren't even necessarily bad anymore. I'd argue all the characters I listed are still good. I mean, they're still pretty good characters. I'd put them above mid-tier, or maybe mid-tier. Some of these characters you could argue are top tier still. But at the same time, I mean, they're nothing what they used to be. And with Smash Ultimate presumably being the final game in the franchise, I don't think they ever will be. But who knows? But though some characters fall off, some characters get better over time, and I think that's what I'm going to be talking about next. But until then, I'll see you guys later.
There's Cat's Eye, you're gonna be sure, safe and secure. It's the last rites for those pests. It's Cat's Eye, call the best of the best to